Okay, I think I'm live. I think I had to start the video over because it would not let me unmute. So, my gosh, you guys, I've never had to start a video 3 times. So we're making history here. We're making history. All right, so I show myself live. Please, if you have the patience to find me again and you're here, could you let me know if you hear me now? Because I think it's all working. So I'm going to give it a second, catch my breath, take some cleansing breaths. And I see a couple people are finding me. Just let me know that you can see and you can hear, and we will begin again with my little poinsettia start to a flower. Okay, CJ, thank you so much. All right, okay. Let's hope this works. We're gonna get going. I should have tried one more thing in the process. I don't think I can do that. I'm afraid that I turned my phone that's up here recording to, when I go get my hair done, I can't get out on kind of any app trying to get onto their Wi-Fi. So I'll turn it off for cellular. So if this works, if we have okay transmission, we're going to go with it. So I'm going to try to paint and talk at the same time. How are you guys? I'm a little flustered, as you can tell. It's been crazy trying to get on. So I'm just kind of re-wetting my brush. God darn it, right? It would not, I could see the mute button in the center of my phone, and I kept pumping it, but it would not respond to unmute. So crazy. Are you guys getting like an intermittent blurry kind of a picture, like it's bad internet? Okay, I'm going to do my second petal. So I'm going to leave a little room between the two. I'm going to hit my tip, smash it down, and pull up. All right, and now that we're back on, you don't need this to know you found the right place. So I'm just kind of turning my hand this direction. You could turn the paper as well, but I'm okay comfort-wise doing this. I'm going to hit the tip, smash down, and pull up. So this is watery watercolor paint. I want some of the white of the paper to show through, a little translucent rather than opaque. Just like that. And I might do one more, maybe 2, depending on my placement here. So just hitting that tip, pressing down, and coming back. I am going to put one more right there. Tip, press down, and come on back and lift up as I'm getting to that center. So each layer needs to dry. So I'm going to set that one aside and do another one. So I'm going to clean off my brush. I do have a towel here off to the side just to let it dry a little bit. So I'm going to get the pink off. And let's do reds. So I'm going to start with, it's kind of a pinky red because I'm going to go light on the bottom, dark on the top. So I'm going to mix my own kind of a pinky red to make my lighter base. And then we'll get to the darker reds on the top as we add our layers. I've got a little bit of white here, so I'm going to throw that in there. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing, off center just a little bit. This looks very close to my neons. That one's going to be a pink poinsettia. This one is going to end up a red poinsettia. Okay. The faster you go, the more relaxed you are, the little better, I think the better the feel of the flower. It's looser, it's more relaxed. So again, we're building up layers. So now I think I'll start with a purple. We'll do a light lavender and build up to a dark purple. So I'm going to take my purple, take a little bit of my white, see if I can just kind of neutralize that down, make it more of a lavender. And I want it to be watery. So again, take my point. And don't sweat the first layer. We're building layers. If you have imperfect leaves, that's okay too. A poinsettia does not have perfection in its leaves. So there's my lavender. And 3 for tonight is probably a good goal to get these 3 painted up and done. So I took, this was that opera, that neon pink. So now I'm going to take kind of a rosy color here. I think that's rosy. Yeah, a little darker. Because we'll probably do 3 or 4 layers. It's still pretty pink. I'm going to throw a little red in there, make it a little rosier. Okay, bring some water to my brush. And this feels pretty dry. That one feels almost drier. All right, so this might bleed a little bit because I might be rushing. So, but I'm going to go in between these 2 points and bring another one in. Point, come down, and pick up at that middle again. Can you see that? Do the same thing, kind of in this open area, hit my point, smash down, and pull up. In that open area, and it doesn't have to be smack dab between the 2. It can be off a little bit. So don't, you know, the less precise we are, the closer the eye's going to relate this to nature. Because I think all of it is beautiful, but none of it is perfect. Like this one's way out there. That's okay. All right, so there's the beginning. We've got 2 layers. And then we'll let that dry and we'll come into a 3rd layer. So those are all in pinks. I'm going to gear this now to reds. So this is going to be more of a red poinsettia. That red is dry. Let's get some water in there. Looks like a Valentine red, doesn't it? Pretty Valentine-y. So I'm going to go red and then a dark red. So same thing. I'm going to go somewhere in between these 2, get my point, smash it down, and bring it back up to the center. So if you're at home and you're not on a time frame, you could set these aside. Look, I got a little red dot there. That'll be fine. You could let them thoroughly dry or dry them with a heat gun in between. I do like something about letting paints dry naturally if they can be. And don't worry about getting all the way to the middle because we need to do some center little baubles in the middle. And I'm going to sneak one more little one in between here. Just kind of go little. So there's that guy. All right, we're to the purple guy. Let's see if he's gotten dry. Clean the red out of my brush. All right, so that's pretty lavenderish. I think I can go true purple next and then So I'm just going to add some of that to that purple that we had. So it'll be a little deeper, and then we'll go dark on the very top. So you got the drill now. I'm going to go in the middle, get my point, smash it down, and then pull up as I drag it to the middle. So really the brush is doing most of the work to make these leaves, these petals, I guess. And I am turning my paper now because things have been wet. And on this last one, look at what I've done, just naturally. I didn't think about it. So I put the point down. I want to smash it, but I'm also kind of curving it as it's down flat and then pulling back up. See how that's giving it a little bit more width in that petal? All right, that's layer number 2 for our purple. I'm using some pretty cheap watercolor paper because my good paper is out of stock. I've reordered, but so this will work on anything. This is just gonna, it might bleed a little more, which means feathering out a little bit more than what I would like. But this is more of a technique, just showing you ways that you can make some. You could do gift tags with these. You could do greeting cards. You know, sky's the limit, really. Okay, so I'm going to put the third color of my pinks on first. We're going to add some greens too. So this is the first one. And I'll tell you, I've got this color saved to reorder. It's my most favorite green. It's kind of a murky. I think it's got an underwater, but because it's Christmas, I'm going to add a little bit of the green to it. Kind of I'm going to bring this down a little bit because I'm up here at the top in these greens. So I worked with this real dark green. It's kind of an ocean, murky under the sea, and then this green here, which is your primary green. Okay, I want to make sure I've got plenty of water here in my brush. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is just pick a few places to add some greenery. So kind of where the point is here, I'm going to pull out and out. So I'm going to let that be my green just going off of the page. I'm going to do the same thing here at this point. I'm not touching that pink with my brush. Just around it there. Okay. I'm going to do a third one because I like threes. So I'm going to come over here. And I don't like exactly centered, so maybe I'll go down just to this one here. Coming onto the side of this petal. I'm going to bring it off the page. Just like that. So we've got our greenery. Since we've got green, let's do the greenery on all of them. See how this is bleeding out a little bit? It's wetter. It's still wet. It's damp. And then it's that not the highest quality watercolor paper out there. It's still going to look lovely, trust me. All right, so I'm going to pick this point here and come out and around. Come down below this point. And you could do your greenery lots of different ways, but I'm focusing on the poinsettia. Let's go up here to this point here. Maybe right around that point. And again, I'm not painting right up against that red or that pink, or it would bleed through. They would all blend and you'd have mud. Okay. I'm just going to come to this point here. And maybe right along that side of that point. And I like it when it goes off the page. And I'll even leave a little highlight there. Okay, that 3 looks awkward to me, so I'm going to throw another one in right here. I don't like it. I'm probably just going to paint the whole thing green. That one just had a weird feel to me. So we're just going to fill this page with some greenery. Let's see if we can blend that little booger out. Then we'll do some splatter to help camouflage for that red dot. You can fix just about anything. Need a little bit more paint, losing my paint. So I'm just daubing it here and there. And I'll probably come back with some pen work to give the illusion that among this green are some leaves. And I like little white spots. I don't think that's a problem at all. So that guy, he didn't get leaves. He got a green background. Okay. I'm pulling in this darker green, which I love. Throwing it in with a little bit of light green. So if this were my top, I think I'll do one right here. Not hitting that purple. Isn't that a rich looking green? And I don't get hung up on exactly what a poinsettia leaf should be. Whoever I give these to, they'll know what I was painting was a poinsettia. Okay, I'm worried to do a third one. I don't know, guys. This is way up. I'm gonna do it. I don't think that's bad. All right, so there's my greenery. Let's go to the pinks, which is what we started with first. I'm going to do a dark, dark pink on the top there. So I'm going to take this pink, my opera pink. Well, I guess I shouldn't put it in with my greens, huh? So we're going to mix some pink. And then I'm going to take just a tad of, I think this is my black. Just darken it up a little bit. See how that black just goes in there and darkens that up? Is that my black? There it is. It's annoying. Okay, so hopefully this will show. I'm going to test it. So now I'm going to go kind of on top between these two here. And I'm going to come, so now I'm not going to go as far out as my petal. I'm going to start my point a little closer in. I just want to make sure this is dark enough that it'll show up. And if not, I'm going to have to bring in a little bit more color to that. Because we're going on top of 3 layers. I'm just bringing all my leftover paints in here. Let's see. I'm going to try it again. Just want it dark enough. Oh, that had some black on it. All right, get my point out there where you can see that's another petal. There we go. So I'm going to come closer. There we go. So right on top of these petals are the top petals. Not quite as flattened out either because there's not as much room. These are smaller petals. I want to do one more right here between these two. Okay, so now I'm going to dry my brush off and try to see if I can pull a little bit of all that water that was pooling in the middle so it doesn't take quite so long to dry. I'm going to bring it up here if you can see 3 different layers of color because we started with the lightest first and then went down to the dark, or went up to the dark. Make sense? Anybody trying to do poinsettias with me? All right, Now let's move to the red one. This looks ugly, but trust me, it will be pretty when we're done. I promise. Okay, so now we need a darker red. So I've got a lot of red right here. I'm just going to grab some black, darken it up a little bit. Grab that red too. Let's just see how this one goes. I'm going to try to, yeah, it's starting to dry. So I'm going to go in. I'm going to come in. I'm going to make my petals shorter. So I'm not going to go all the way out to the tip. So I'm going to start about there and see how that one is. Definitely a different tone with that black in it. So the eye should be able to recognize that this is a new layer of petals. But I'm hitting my point, flattening it out. I'm turning my page as I go. And let's do one more right here. Okay, can you see the 3 layers? So it's backwards from acrylic paint. It's light to dark instead of dark to light. Okay, purple. So I thought I had a dark purple. What's that color? It is a dark purple. Okay, I like that. Let's just see if this pure color here will be enough of a change. So I'm going to start with a test and go in between the two. It's definitely a different tone, and I think it's dark enough it's going to show up. Just kind of in between all these. These are baby leaves, so they're not going to start as far out as the first ones did. Oh, good. I'm glad it's relaxing. One thing I love about watercolor is it's an easier cleanup. It's easier to pull out some watercolors and do painting than acrylic. I love acrylic. They do things that others won't do. But if I'm being a lazy crafter and I want to paint, watercolors are my ticket. All right, I'm going to let that one dry. I'll pull it up here so you can kind of see the 3 different layers. All right, so now that this one is dry, I don't need to do the background because I've already done it. It's the green. So now I want to put a background on this guy. And I might, nope, I hate it. I'm going to leave it just like that. And these should probably sit for a while and dry, but we're going to be brave. And I like to go with neutrals in my background. That's one thing. I did that 100-day project this year in Lindsay's. I mean, it's a large worldwide focus, but then Lindsay had a private group, and I did 100 days of different watercolor in florals, and I'm going to try not to get up along my edges. But one of the big lessons I learned was a lot of times when I didn't particularly care for my finished product, I didn't like the background color. So I tend to go with teals. So I don't want to paint, you know, like perfectly straight brushes, so I'm just going to kind of douse this around. Let the paint dance a little bit. And even throw in a little bit of water to help it go a little further. Whoops, gotta hit the water. There, see how that kind of helps it spread out a little looser? All right, we're gonna let that dry, but that's gonna be our background of our poinsettia card base. Let's do the same thing with this guy. Now I think with him, some grays with some teal might be pretty. So we'll drop a little bit of teal in there too. And I do like it if I don't even hit all the way to the edge here. I'm going to leave all that white right there. I'm just going to turn again. All right, I might throw just a couple of dots. Let's just see how this teal would blend in there. Gotta get some on my brush. Need to turn that baby. There you go. That's going to be too much teal. I can feel it. Okay, so I'll call that one done and waiting for, I get a little closer to my petals if I can. Just pulling my point up in there a little bit. That's enough. And I'll let that dry as well. All right, let's see how that first one, I think I'm going to bring my little not hair dryer. You know what I'm talking about. All right, let's see if I can pull it without pulling the rest of the power cord. So I want to, before I start doing pen work, I want to make sure this is nice and dry. So bear with me. Have a drink of whatever you're drinking. I've got some soda. I will iron these all later with an iron. If you do both sides, it'll help it flatten out temporarily while you're working with it. And I'll let my purple one keep drying while I work on these two. Okay, so I have got a black Sharpie. This is a fine tip. And so I'm going to find that third layer, 1, 2, 3. So I'm just going to loosely outline these petals. And again, I don't care if my pen line is broken a little bit. I'm just going to help guide the eye to these petals. Can you kind of see? Real loose and easy, very fine tip. I don't want the pen to take over the paint. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to come along here. Give these a little hint. And like that one even went on the white. I went beyond the paint. I don't care. Okay, so now it's starting to look more like a poinsettia. And let's do the same thing here. I'm just going to go real loose right off of my page and do the same thing with my greenery. And then with my black pen, I'm going to draw some circles, even over top of that pen work. But kind of loose, because those centers are pretty big with a poinsettia. So here's the other thing. They all have lots of veins. So rather than going straight up and down, I'm going to kind of curve that a little bit to give a feel that that petal is curved. just a slight bend. And then we need to put our veins in there. So I'm just going to go up one side and up the other. Remember, they all have those little lines in there. Same thing, if it doesn't make a perfectly bold line, I'm completely fine with that. So there's layer one, and I'm not going to do all of that detail in the other two layers or it takes over the flower. So I might just do like a little line, a couple of hints. See that? Just a little line with maybe a couple of hints. And your eye's going to finish out the rest. Because some of these could be turned in different angles that you can't see all of that. And that's all of the outlining I would do on my third layers. Hello, Joni. Okay, has it gone blurry, you guys? I think I've got bad internet. I'm so sorry. This is probably the most challenging freebie I've ever done for you. And I didn't look up. I should have looked up a poinsettia, but I think they also kind of have some lines. Let's give them some veins too. Nothing precise or finished. Don't be afraid to turn your page. And then I would put my splatter next, and then this area would be where I would, if you have beautiful hand lettering, you could do your hand lettering greeting, or if you have a stamp, you can stamp right on top of that watercolor once it's good and dry. Watercolor will activate, but not from just putting, ink on the page. You'll be fine. You could even do it with embossing powder, and it'll be fine. White pen next. I did just order a few new ones. Oh, that's the larger one. Here's my. So I'm just going to do a few highlights. So right in the center. Guess I've got to get primed a little bit. Let's see, where could I prime this? Maybe right there. I think this is my new one. There we go. Now it wants to work. So right where I made those circles, I'm just throwing some white dots in there. Maybe a few more. And then a few places. So I'm going to decide what direction. So I'm going to put my highlights all going. There we go. A few dots here and there. Just to zhuzh it up. Man, this pen is not working. I think it's brand new. So I'm just trying to prime the pen, putting some dots around here. Oh, let's see. There we go. All right, let's get some splatter, shall we? This gold that I got from, it's watercolors that somebody that Lindsay knows well makes, and this is the most luscious gold metallic I've ever run into. I'm just letting that cook up with some water. I might need to add some more water. I do. Let's come down here. Perfect. So I've got just a little bit of splatter going on. I'll iron it nice and flat. And then that's one poinsettia. All right. I'm going to move on to the next one. That gold splatter just makes it feel Christmassy to me. Here's the ugly one. Let's make it pretty, shall we? Black pen. So again, this is a Sharpie. It's the fine, I've got white ink on this one, but it's a nice fine tip. I'm going to start with the smallest and just kind of give it a guide to where those petals go. And don't get hung up on the details. And that's that light pink that actually started the base of this flower. Okay, and let's put our little circles in the center. Kind of bold. Poinsettia centers are pretty bold. And I'm going to come out kind of at a slight curve. No flower all has matching perfectly sized petals. I'll just do a couple of details on the other layers. Just a few veins on these, not all of them, or this just takes over the whole painting. And that's enough for me. All right, so let's try to fix and just give a hint of a flower there. And a hint of a flower there. And there. I'm going to come over here and do one here too. It's just something about the balance that I'm fighting. And so, that gives me the feel. Again, these, I think, I did not look up a picture of a poinsettia tonight before I did it, but I think the leaves also have some veins in them. There we go. And then put your greeting there and splatter. So let's see if I've got some gold left. a nice wet brush. You want it to have enough paint pigment in it that when it dries, you're going to be able to see. You want it to have enough water in it that it'll splatter, and enough pigment that when it dries, it's still going to be shiny and pretty. All right, there's number 2. So this was our pink. This was more of our red. And now let's get our purple. This guy's super wet. Gotta dry him, guys. Again, both sides will have to kind of flatten out. Not perfectly, but enough to finish, working on it for the night. All right. It's hot, so I had to wait till it cools a little bit, but I think it's dry enough. Let's do the same thing. Are you getting it? Who feels like they want to try this? There's one hiding back there. All right, there's my greenery right there. I couldn't curve my hand well enough. If that's happening, turn your paper. All right, let's get our center. Bold for poinsettia. Slightly curved, not straight point to point. And our little veins here. And a lighter touch on the outside petals. They're further away, so we're going to have less detail. I did these once with a gold pen, and the sheen of the gold pen just took it over. So I feel like your black pen is going to be your best bet. But that's art. You just got to try things until you know if you like it or not. Gotta live and learn. One of my favorite artists says, the way to make good art? You make a lot of bad art. And that is so true. All right. Now, this guy here is bothering me a little bit. I want to try one more thing. I may absolutely ruin it now, but I'm going to see if I can pull some gray. And just kind of lay it in a few places just to break up some of that green. And I may hate this, and I may love it. It's kind of curvy. I'm having to fight that. And we'll just see how that dries up. Just trying to break up that green so it's not all that same green. All right. I like it already. Now, watercolor can dry funny. I'm going to kind of blend that because that could dry in a weird pool. All right, even drip it a little bit. There we go. See how I kind of broke up that green a little bit? Okay, so this one needs some white highlighter. Let's see. Maybe I should go to the bigger pen. It's not as fine a point, which I would prefer. Oh, that was the one. But I think it's got more white pigment. Absolutely. Look at the difference in that white. And that other one's a brand new pen. Okay, so this is a bolder tip, so I want to go really light in my... I don't want a lot of white. I just want a feel of some highlights. There you go. Just a little. Let's throw some dots in there, just randomly, like maybe the sparkle of the Christmas tree lights in the background are catching it. And I think we need some white highlights on this guy that I just added that gray. I'm just going to throw some in the middle here. And maybe along the center. Trying to find a place with my bolder pen that I do less. First, do no harm. If the pen's not doing what you want, in my experience, you gotta turn the paper. Okay, just a few sparkle dots. And I can still see my splatter there. I may need to add some after this dries, where I've added my gray. But I think that would be it. I know that purple one is your fave. I'm going to turn them the opposite direction just so I can get them all possibly in camera. I know they're curvy. I will get them ironed nice and flat, add a sentiment. Now, what you could do if you weren't going to make it as a greeting card or a tag, you could add a smaller poinsettia right beside it. So you could have two in your greenery. And that would be something you could frame up in a little 4x6 frame. People love to get homemade goodies. Can't quite, I'm keeping the purple one out of camera for you, Dawn. Let's see if I can, I'm gonna have to move my 1, 2, 3. And see what a difference the background can make. So I've made them purposely smaller and off to the side so you can add a stamped sentiment. So here's one that was done. And then I said Merry Christmas. And I don't know if you can see the glare, but that's the gold I did, and it took it over. But that way you can have your stamped image right down there in the corner. I think it looks real pretty. Oh, yeah, there I did. So I think what you'll see is not a big break. It says for me waiting for live signal, so I'm going to hit refresh, see if it's back. I think we're here. So I think that's all I can think of to show you or tell you. So I'm going to sign off knowing that this has probably been technically in the top 5 of challenging videos. So I appreciate your patience as we got through it. And keep an eye, the flash sale starts tomorrow. This is my once a year sale. So I'll have things priced super duper affordable, and it'll be my one and done. All right. Thank you so much. Bye now.